All about getting better. Okay. All right. This is Micah coaching Lisa. Okay. Hi, Lisa.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm grand. I'm frozen in Missouri.
I think everyone in the US is frozen at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, as I was thinking about this, the only real dilemma I guess that I have is how far to maybe push my employer, my
Mhm.
organization to say I really, really want to do something different than I've done the past 25 years.
Mm.
Um, and so I think I'm settled in
Mhm.
whatever they come up with, but yeah, we can chat about it some more just to
Sure.
really bring it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, why is this important to you now?
Because I'm going to be graduating and I have new skills that I can use my skills with some of my volunteers and my staff,
Mm.
but I really have a heart to use it for way more than that, and of course on the side, in a side business, but I really want to help all of the staff at our organization. So and I have told them that.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I'm really driven to do that. So
So you want to have a game plan for a conversation on how to challenge them? Is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly? Or how to
uh,
push them further?
how to approach them further. Yeah, that would be great. I have had conversation with
Okay.
HR and with my
Mm.
direct report, and
Okay.
I've just posed the question, is it wise for me to do the same thing that I've done for the past 25 years? And how much
Okay.
longer should I do that?
How did that conversation go?
They are open, they're like, well, of course we want you to stay in the same position that you been in.
Sure.
But they also acknowledge that I have newfound
Good.
skills that will actually help the whole organization. So it's just trying to figure out what to do with that.
Okay.
Um, and there's not an open position that makes a lot of sense for me to
Mm.
bop over to.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Okay. So as we're talking today, knowing that you want to work on that approach, what do you want the outcome of this to be, this session together?
Mm. Yeah, probably solidify what I think I have come to terms with, that if I need to keep doing what I'm doing for another couple of years, and so
Mm.
yeah, what's a couple, 2, 5,
Yeah.
as well as utilizing maybe some of my skills, um, aside from my daily, you know,
Hmm.
task list, but probably is, how's my heart set with that? How am I settled with that? I think I'm settled, but I want
Hmm.
to explore it again.
Okay. Okay. I want to point out something. There's a little bit of a contradiction because you want to approach them and it sounds like you want to like really have this conversation. But then you just made the comment of, I think I'm settled in
Yeah.
things. So, are you settled or do you really want to try to like step further into this? Where's that conflict coming from?
Mm. It probably is just a conflict. I because
It's all right.
I think if there was a position right now that was open that intrigued me, I think I would be
Yeah.
eager to take it.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not I was trying to think of the word for it today. I am content. I'm not discontent with,
Mhm.
discontented with my current job. It's just been a long time. I still love what I do. I still um want to do what I do, but I see more or I see a new opportunity that I would like to take
Oh,
if one came about.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
a
So
change.
you're okay. So what have you tried as far as the approach?
I've talked to, actually a year ago, I talked to our senior pastor, and he was the only one I talked to. Uh,
Hmm.
and so, and that was just because I was running an interview for a person that when I read the job description, I told him I will be able to do this job, just so you know, um, type thing. And I'm like, and so I told him, you have a year to figure out what you're gonna do with me and my new skills that I'm gonna have. And so I'm like, that's all, I'm like, I got a lot of work to do. Um, and then just over the past probably month and a half, I've been talking to my direct report and then our HR person. So
Okay. And what's the position that you want to step into?
mm, it's uh it's a good question. Probably more people development, but there's somebody in that position right now.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
and that's actually the interview I, led last
Mm.
year at this time.
Oh.
So I'm like, um, I don't know. And she's even made comments like, well, I won't be here that much longer and stuff. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is what I just need to hear. Like I just need to sit and wait. Um, I don't know. But what if?
Yeah.
What if
But
she's still here 2 years from now, 5 years from now?
so what if?
Yeah. Um, am I content having clients on the side and
Mhm.
um maybe even I will be leading more staff development um
Mhm.
days. So they've told me I can do that. So yeah, will I be content with, current situation? That's
Right.
great. Yeah, I think I will be, but I don't know how long. That's probably the thing. And, hopefully I would continue to get
Right.
clients, right? And if that if that load gets bigger and bigger and bigger, then depending upon, the financial situation, sure. Then would it be I just quit that organization and have my own business?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot to consider.
It is.
Oh gosh. Okay. So how can you start incorporating some of the people development now into your current role?
Mm-hmm. I lead about 200 volunteers and
Oh, wow.
so yeah, so I can certainly have more um
Mhm.
development days for them. Um
Mhm.
Offer personal coaching for them, absolutely. Personal coaching or coaching is on my job description for my
Okay.
volunteers. So it would fall under my job description. So that would work too.
Mhm.
I just have to watch, how much you do that. And then I'd be able to get my task list done as well. You know,
Yeah. Is it possible to do both?
probably in a limited capacity. I probably could do 2 coaching sessions a week,
Mhm.
outside my normal task list and um still be on in my 40 hours, which I work over 40 hours, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You still seem like you're struggling with
there's a
something,
lot of
though.
things going on. I am, yeah, I
Okay.
am,
I mean, feel free. This is what this time is for. Like, just
yeah,
what what's going on?
yeah. There's just a lot of unknowns.
Okay.
I would say a lot of unknowns.
Yeah. Just the unknown of how long will you have to wait? The unknown of, um, you know, can I do both?
Right. Mhm.
Yeah. So,
I see balance being,
yeah.
I need to be careful with balance outside of, outside of work as well, like how many coaching clients do I take, on my days off?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so I was really, really burned out when I started this program, so I don't want to go there again,
Mhm.
and so yeah, being
Mhm.
careful.
So a little bit of that, maybe a little bit of the fear of walking back into a burnout.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's present. It is.
That's that's a lot to weigh out right now. The eagerness of wanting to jump into a new role, the concern of will it be too much?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's all right. So what are your next steps then?
I think my next steps are to talk to them again, set up a meeting again with them to just, have you thought about this? Have you taken it to the strategic, level? Have you, you know, um, what's everybody's thoughts on that? What's the leadership, thought on this? And
Mm-hmm.
how can we make it work?
Ooh, that's a strong question.
Yeah,
How are you feeling about that?
pretty good. Pretty
Okay.
good. Yeah. Because I'm coming into it really healthy, and with boundaries. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
That's good. All right. So when will you be having this conversation?
That's a great question. It's a short week this week, so I'm not sure. I have probably next week would probably be better. Yes, I should set up an
Mhm.
appointment with them next week.
Mhm. And how are you preparing for that conversation?
Probably more curious. How has any conversations gone with the
Mhm.
leadership team? Um, yeah.
Mhm. Do they need any, have they asked you for any data or are you like putting things together to present to them?
No,
Okay.
I haven't done
Okay.
that yet. They're pretty much waiting until I finish the program,
Okay.
to like schedule me on the staff development times and stuff like that. So they are,
Okay. Okay.
they're waiting.
Okay. So you want to focus on the approach. Um, your approach is you're just gonna schedule some time with them.
Mhm.
Okay. And you have the conversation ready to go.
Yeah,
Okay. So what else do you want to focus on now? You're feeling confident in that and ready to go and
I am. So I guess it's probably um just I suppose it's just praying for more um support, and provision of contentment with whatever happens and the journey that I'm on, and just trust and faith, and it's probably praying for more of that, which I pretty much have that, but there is that just in the back of my mind. What's this gonna look like,
yeah.
so that's probably where I need to focus, is just more connection with God, that he's got this, and whatever happens, just I'm along for the ride, and he's gonna provide.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Um, well, I think we're probably at a stopping point. All right, Karen, do you want to come back on?
Yep.
30 seconds.
She was
30
giving up.
seconds.
Oh, sorry, 30.
Giving you all your time.
Yeah.
Okay. Great job, guys. That was
Oh,
fun.
I'm so rusty.
I think we all are, Micah. I think that's like
Ugh.
I think we were talking about this last time. We talked briefly in our breakout room during class. Like we've been coaching this one client for
Yes.
14 weeks, and we've been so focused on like the technicality of coaching that I think like we haven't really like let ourselves go back to what does it feel like just to be in my body and coach. Like
Yeah.
Right.
so it's I'm glad we're doing this because it's kind of like, okay, relax a little,
Ugh.
right? It's so hard.
So
Yeah.
rough.
I know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
well, Lisa, do you want to share anything about how it felt to be coached before I give feedback? That might be helpful too.
Well,
Bring it.
it's been so long since I've been in that seat,
I
I'm like,
know.
oh, I'm like, I need to do more of this. You
Ugh.
know? Yeah. Let's see. No, I mean, I felt like I was all over the place and I was, like all in my head, just not solidified and um not having a direction, and so so you trying to help me find that direction, which way we going, you know,
Mhm.
felt good. So
Yeah. Did you feel that, Micah?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like what you're dealing with now when you said you had the conversation of, hey, you have 1 year. I was like, this is the exact same conversation I have had. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
sitting here like,
Ooh,
holy
that's
moly,
interesting.
like I know exactly what you're feeling, but you can't really be like, yeah, I get
Mhm.
it. You just want to hear them.
Mm,
But I
Yeah.
felt super, yeah, I was able to relate to you
Mm.
really well in that. So
that's so interesting, Micah, because I think too, like when we have those, like, just like I've been focusing so much on when we relate, like how do we show that in attunement, right? But not
yeah.
bring our own opinions and judgments about it. It's so hard, it's so complicated.
Yes.
But you did a great job. Yeah, so I mean just go I'll walk through some of the things I said. I feel like your
Yes.
coaching presence is just great. You're just, you're very like conversational. You feel very I mean in a good way, what I mean informal, like you feel
Mhm.
like you're in just a conversation, which is really nice. And you do lots of verbals and nonverbals to kind of show that presence, nodding, leaning
Mhm.
in, reacting, mm-hms and nods and okays, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that was great. You totally like nailed the competency one where you're asking, what do you want to accomplish today? Why is this meaningful? And then you even, reframed the goal for the session because there wasn't clarity. And when you did, Lisa came back and said, well, maybe this, whatever, and grabbed onto one of the words you said, which was, can't remember how you said it, but whatever it was, but you reframed that together. Um, at one point she asked right around there, she said something about how she asked the question to them about, how wise is it for me to stay in this position for how long? And I thought that's something that you could kind of go into more. Um, like
True.
she's asking that question. So then like to me, it just kind of triggered me to say, oh, that's meaningful to her. What does that mean?
Yes.
Anyway, that was a
Yes.
thought. Um, and then you showed like attunement in your words, even by saying like that's a lot. I mean, just kind of noticing that she's got, a lot to kind of sort through. Um, let's see. My notes are everywhere. I mean, you asked great questions. Oh, I was thinking when you pointed out the contradiction, I don't know what my opinion on this is. Um, but I thought you could make that a question, right? You kind of said, I want to point out a contradiction. And so maybe instead of that, say, I heard you say you wanted to
Oh, you're
approach and you're settled. Are those competing ideas or contradicting? So you could
right. Oh,
ask that as a
that's good.
question as opposed
Yeah.
to, I don't know, just kind of thought about that. All right, let's see. Um, oh, there was one point, Lisa's face. I just thought I'm like, and let me say, these are all things that I'm like, okay, I gotta work on these things because they're the same things that I'm kind of like trying to notice. But at one point her face is like so telling. She was like, yeah, like that. And I thought, yeah, what does that mean? And so I had wrote down, not for you, but like for me, to notice. And I think who said this? Patty did. She said, notice and be curious aloud. And I thought that was such a good reminder for me. But then I like you reflect and summarize. Like, so she said, so, what if? And you said, yeah, so what if? Like you made her answer the question. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
One of the questions that came to mind for me that was a curiosity for me was I wanted to know how Lisa felt about waiting. Like,
Yes.
I kind of presumed that she didn't want to wait, but also like I could sense this hesitancy about going into it. So I was like, how do you feel about it?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was a curious question.
That was good.
Oh, so at one point you said, Lisa, you said there's just a lot of unknowns. And and Micah, you responded again. I think this is a question where you could ask. I think this is where the one part where I was like, oh, I don't know that I knew you've been through it, but I thought she knows something about this kind of scenario because you said I can't remember what your words were, but you said, yeah, like, and you kind of gave an example of an unknown. And I thought, I mean, and that it depends on how Lisa is. Lisa could have been like, yeah, but she picked up on it and kept listing more, which was great. But even just saying, what are those unknowns?
Yes.
How do they make you feel?
Yes.
So this is so much easier when you get to sit here and quietly off screen, by the way, and listen. I'm like, I wish I could do this to myself.
No, this is such good feedback.
Well, like I said, like, I wish I could show you. Well, I can show you, but these aren't notes about you. These are, I can't show you. Let me see. Yeah, no.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I wrote all these questions for each competency and highlighted things to be like to remind myself and try to get better at it. So like, these are just things that I'm working on.
Yeah.
You had a great question of what have you tried in terms of the approach. I love that because that kind of like asking her like, did it work or didn't it work kind of thing, which is great.
What have you done?
Yeah. And then one of the things Patty told me, and I've been trying to really work on, and my client was hard for this. My client my client in the practicum wanted to give a lot of narrative. And I was always drawn in to ask questions about the narrative. And she keeps saying to me, like, the narrative doesn't matter, Karen. Like,
wow.
Like it's not about the content, it's about the context. And so when you ask the question, like, what's the position? Tell me what I thought, maybe you don't need that. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Just it kind of triggered me to think about what Patty said there.
Yeah.
And always asking, just, you asked some great open-ended questions. And then you made sure in like competency 8, what are the next steps? I love how you affirmed her strong question. You said that, like, that's such a strong question. Because you said, Lisa, you were to go in and say, how can we make it work to them? And I thought you affirmed, like, what you said in that, Micah, was saying, like, that's a pretty bold question.
Yeah.
And I love that you affirmed that in her, but it also made her kind of think, oh, is it? And you asked what now? Like, what do you want to talk about now? And then, okay, two of the last things were, you used the word just, which when you asked her about her approach, so you're just going to go talk to them. And I thought that could feel like, I could feel like I'm in trouble. Yeah,
right.
Oh, I'm in trouble. Well, maybe I'm going to do something else. What should I do? Because I'm going to try to please you because I want you to think highly of me. And then the other thing that I screwed up so much of the time, and I only heard it one time from you, which was so good, but like you said, exactly, which is like a pronouncing a judgment. And I do that all the time. You're going to hear it all the time from me. And I'm like, and I think it's because I want to affirm the client, but I'm like, but it can feel like okay, I just gave you like a stroke. Now you keep doing whatever that was. And I'm like, that's so hard.
Yes.
So great conversation. Like I said, I think you're your presence and your open-ended questions, like, and it was really hard to keep Lisa, no offense, Lisa, but like on track, because she was not sure where she wanted to go.
Mhm.
So anyway.
And I think for me, I often like will want to interject too quickly, and I've got to be better at that of like calm down and just sit in this space. So there
Me
were a couple of
too.
times where I just kind of sat there and I was like, okay, you know, I'm trying.
You
And
did
then
great. Yeah, I wrote that down too. I should have said that. Like, you allowed for silence and pauses really well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm what you just described, I do constantly. I jump in because I'm just like, okay, the conversation's got to keep going. But you were very calm and
yeah, it's probably because of, you know, work. I'm like, let's just go,
yeah,
let's get things done. And like, blah, blah, you know, so
Right.
changing that is really, really challenging.
agreed. Feel the same way.
All right. Well, thank you for
So
thank you for
good.
letting me coach you, Lisa, and
Thank
thank you for the
you.
feedback. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you guys
good.
did great.
Well, who's next?
Okay, yeah. So what's trying to think what the triangle is, right?
You want to go round robin?
Yeah, except that your screen's probably different than mine.
Well, it's very true.
So
What does
does
that mean?
Lisa, do you want to coach Karen?
Just tell me what's happening
then-
next.
And then Karen, yeah.
Will coach me.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
We're
okay.
all like this.
I know.
You know, just go to that person.
Okay, let me think what I want to be coached on, Lisa. I should have come prepared with the topic. Sorry.
It's
Okay,
okay.
we'll figure it out.
Are we ready?
Got it. And you're gonna do time, right, Micah?
I'm gonna do time. Well, let me get my
Okay.
water. Hold on 1 second. Let me get my timer.
Oh, you look like kind of it's mischievous there.
Okay, I'm muting.
All right.
Okay.
Hi, Karen.
Hey, Lisa.
How are you today?
Doing good. Just trying to stay warm. I'm sure you are too, right?
Yes, the great freeze out
Yeah.
happening. Yeah, yeah. Well, aside from being a little cold, is there anything that you need to talk about before we get started with what you want to talk about today?
I don't think so. It's been a pretty chill day. I'm kind of clear-minded, so I think I'm ready to go.
All right. All right. Well, then let's get after it. What would you like to discuss today?
I think the thing that would be helpful is, as you know, I've been kind of pursuing a degree in coaching and consulting. And but I also work for an organization that I love and don't tend to leave for quite some time until they kick me out, to be honest, through a corporate acquisition. But I'm really struggling with feeling ready to even launch kind of as a side business or like a little bit of my confidence, a little bit in terms of competency, but also just like overwhelmed with like the pace and what all I need to do. And so I think I'm just kind of been thinking about that. And on top of that, praying through, do I want to do that on my own? Do I want to kind of work with somebody else? Do I want to be in a collective? And so maybe it would just be helpful for me to talk a little bit about that today and see if I can't get some direction or clarity, even on my own once.
Okay. All right. So what I'm hearing is that you would like to work through some thoughts, some feelings that you don't have clarity on, and maybe come up with a direction of with your employment, your current employment, and starting a new business. Is that, am I
Yeah.
on?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think maybe even clarity, I don't feel a pressure or a rush per se,
Right.
but I think that even getting clarity on maybe it's something that I don't want to do, ruling something out, right? Or I think it's just kind of like, I feel kind of just this massive like iceberg in front of me, and how do I want to move,
Yeah. Okay. So what I hear you saying now this time is, what do I want? Is
Mm,
that, would that
that's,
sum it up? What do I
yep,
want?
yeah,
Okay. All right. That's what came to my mental picture when you with your
yeah,
expert.
yeah.
That was really good too. All right. Well, what does that mean to you? What means the most to you? Why is this why would a starting a business on the side be what would that mean to you?
Hmm. Well, I think, I didn't go into the program lightly. I mean, I felt it was something that the Lord asked me to do. And I didn't have a lot of clarity going into it, to be honest, about what that meant on the tail end. I thought it's going to be really good for my current employment because I do a lot of this work internally already. So it'll give me a framework. I did think, gosh, in the future, I will be pushed out by corporate acquisition and it'll be nice to have something else to go to. But as I've been doing this too, like, I don't feel like I'm supposed to take this big pause between finishing and doing the next thing with this body of work, but it's also can't be my primary because I love my job and it's big. So, so I think it's important to me to use to not have this big pause to kind of move into something, but to recognize that it's not going to be this all or nothing thing. And so how do I, like, in this in between, what do I do? It's because it's not like I can just, like, some people I think are going to graduate from our program and they're going to go start in my business, or make a change. And that's just not kind of where I am. So yeah, I feel like it's meaningful to me because I feel like I want to use what God has asked me to do, but also still feel very called to be at Transnetics. So makes sense.
It does. Can you clarify you said you will be pushed out?
Yeah, just the nature of, we are private equity owned, and we are going to go through another sale starting probably at the end of this year, and we'll bring in another strategic partner. And so that means our current private equity will want to stay. The next private equity firm will want to join with them. And so we'll have a co-ownership there. In that scenario, business continues as is pretty much. And so nothing will change for me. I'll continue to sit in my position and grow the business, probably for an ownership cycle of 3 to 5 years. That's kind of typical for private equity. But in 5 years, the next sale will happen because that's what they do. It kind of flipping the organization to get more value out of it. And the size that we are, we're going to run out of room to grow the business in such a way that we're attractive to another private equity firm. And so a bigger corporation that's in our field or industry will want to come up and kind of acquire us. And in that scenario, as a C-suite level executive, I'm a duplicate function in the other corporation. There's probably another CHRO or chief people officer there, and they won't need me. And so they'll give me a nice package and send me on my way. And I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with that. But I don't want to leave until then. So, but I don't want to stay after that either, even if they ask me, probably, because I imagine that the culture will change drastically and I'm not interested,
Okay. Okay. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, how do you feel about that? But it sounds like you've worked through some feelings, but
Yeah, I honestly think, one of my spiritual gifts may be faith. And so I just I'm okay with receiving whatever it is next in the Lord, and just have a lot of trust in his provision, and just kind of want to be used for him. And so whatever that looks like, and I think I can do that there or anywhere. So, so yeah, I'm okay with that future. But I don't really know what to do with, the coaching degree and the consulting degree between now and then, assuming that after that happens, I would maybe go full time into my own business or whatever I'm going to do. So,
right. Okay. So it sounds like you're really struggling with the in between. And yeah, I saw the whole
yeah,
yeah. Talk about those feelings.
I don't want to waste what I have been given. in terms of this program and the knowledge and stuff. I want to help people, and I don't want to like be rusty in the practice either. I want to continue to practice. But I think there's probably wisdom to running some of this coaching and consulting thing alongside of my current job in some way, shape, or form, but also just because I feel like I want to use it to bless others, whether that's even in our church or, in the community. So I feel like it serves a lot of purposes to keep going. But not, I don't feel a call to jump ship, right now. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I admire your loyalty with your company, but it must be a really great company for you.
It's a great place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That just occurred to me. Yeah, so you don't want to jump ship, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what can you do? You named a few things that what you could do with your newfound learning. You said in the community maybe, but do you want to brainstorm some other ideas?
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. I mean, I have attempted to have conversations with people who, other coaches who own their own business and would be interested in bringing somebody on. I've talked to a couple collectives that have coaches and consultants all as a part of one group, where you could kind of independently practice, but be a part of their, maybe administratively, they would be supporting you and feeding you clients and referrals as they get them. Um, and then I've also just thought about, hanging up my own shingle, so to speak, and having one or two clients during off hours from, my normal job. And again, I mean, whether that has to be paid or just being able to continue I don't need income due to my other job. So could it be a gift for a while just to get hours and practice and serve? Quite possibly that could then continue to build a network, for the future. I'm not opposed to, charging if I had opportunities or whatever, but I don't have to. That's kind of my thought. So I think one of the problems with the collectives that I've talked to so far is that they either have this perspective of we don't have let's say it's a Christian collective of some kind. They don't have a statement of faith that you don't have to all agree. So my fear in that is somebody might walk off the streets and say, oh, I met with this person over here and they have these kinds of beliefs. And so Karen may too. And may not agree. And so I want to be true to my values in that. And so I almost would rather find some place that I could ascribe to their bylaws or, statement of faith or whatever in full knowledge and feel good about it. So I haven't found that yet. And I don't know what all goes into running a business as to whether I would want administrative help. I feel like I could probably manage it. So I don't know that that's a benefit for me. But I always love collaboration. So I think that's a draw. On the other hand, working for somebody like who's already got their business running, again, if we align, that feels pretty like, you're given business and clients. That feels great and a lot easier in terms of getting a start. But at the same time, like I'm not really ready to take off at the pace that somebody may expect. So then I kind of get boiled down to, well, maybe I just need to like hang up my own shingle, take a client or two for now and keep pursuing those other options as a future maybe. So that's kind of where I get to. And then in terms of who I serve, I don't know if it has to matter to me. Just where the needs are, I guess. Yeah, so maybe that's what I need to take steps towards, as we in the in-between, I guess. And of course I would want to do that in full view of my current organization, meaning that I would talk to my boss and make sure he knows and feels comfortable with me doing that, because I am loyal as they are to me. And so I want to honor that. But yeah, but maybe that's the in-between.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like that third option, you know, is something that you, because your values are, you know, your spiritual values are pretty high. So you do want to align that. I see that. And um, do you think that third option, the way it's weighing in that direction? 2 minutes.
Yeah. I think that if I would, I mean, I think, you know, in lieu of the fact that like, you know, I'm going to be done with my program in a month. And
Mhm.
while I know there may be some certification work that I want to do, it probably seems like the thing that I can most side hustle, you know, and
Yeah.
not like overcommit to, but and also not feel like I have to do a bunch of research on like the collective side of things.
Mhm.
And there is this like thing in the back of my head too. I have a really dear friend who's a counselor, and another dear friend in that same circle who's actually beginning a counseling degree currently. And we've often dreamt together, what would it be look like to have our own collective? And so I also think like by the time that she's finished with her program and I'm off-boarded, maybe then there's this future thing to start praying towards and dreaming about too. So
Mhm.
maybe that's also why I think for now this makes the most sense, you know? So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's probably the right place.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, here comes another option in.
I
Yeah.
know, for the
I
future,
like
for the
it.
future.
No, I like it. Yeah. Okay. So what's your plan of action moving
Mm.
forward? What do you think you should do?
Well, I will say the current class I'm in is helping to kind of push me to make some steps. Like I finally finalized a name for my business this week, and even just going back to kind of update documents that we've, you know, created throughout the program that can be used in my business. And I reached out to my marketing friend who's going to work on a logo design, and I have another friend who's got web design, and so I've talked about website stuff. So I mean, just taking some steps like that to kind of get the framework, I think, up and running while I still, um, you know, I'm open to meeting with a client or, you know, whatever. So yeah.
Yay.
So
Yay.
good.
All right,
What's
it's
your
clicking.
business name, Karen?
I
What's
know.
oh, okay, yeah. It's called liminal, which I don't know if you're not
Ooh.
familiar with that word, it just means threshold. But there's this great Venn diagram where it talks about being in a liminal space is being in the no long not it's no it's kind of in the space between the no longer and the not yet. And
Oh,
Mm,
and so I just love
love
that
that.
idea of yeah, and I think I put a quote in one of my assignments this week that it says liminal space is a posture of submission to God and listening for his voice. It's where we sit in God's presence to hold anxious feelings, resist impulsiveness, live with the not knowing, and think the best of other people. To lead people in for souls from liminal space means
Mm,
remembering that it's from God that we live and move and have our being. So I just love
that's awesome.
wow,
that.
I love that
that's
so much.
great.
So we'll see. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
just step, let me get a charger real quick. Hold on. Real quick.
Okay.
No, heater. Okie dokie, thanks, sorry.
All right. All right, Lisa, how was it being the coach?
It was pretty good. I was really glad I had a client last week because I did that whole like, oh my goodness. I was coaching her. I'm like, oh, how do I do this again?
I
So
know.
yeah, I was really glad I had one last week. So
Good.
just a few days ago. But
Good. Karen, how was it for you?
It was so good. I mean, Lisa, I've you know, I've watched you coached a lot of times, and you had a really difficult client during practicum too. Um, but you do such a great job just listening. Really, you're really just in a good way. Like your pace is slower, and you're just. I mean, it's something that I've wanted to emulate about you ever since I've watched you coach. Like you're just very calming, very
Yeah.
yeah, attentive, and um Yeah, I just, you
Yeah.
say, like, if you were to go back and see how many words she spoke during that whole thing, I'd be like, it was probably like 5. I mean, you do a great job with such little
Mhm.
interjection. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will reaffirm that because you just draw people to you. You have a way that people are just like,
So good.
oh, like it's almost like they can take an exhale when they're
yes.
around you.
Oh,
Because they carry all of this. I mean, honestly, I was sitting there like, I would be coached by her, just because
that's
you
awesome.
draw out this like, oh,
Mhm.
it feels okay to just, be in
Mhm.
that moment with you. And it's obvious like you are in that moment with them. So amazing.
That's,
Um,
that's the Holy
yeah.
Spirit.
Oh, well, he's given you a great like gift and it's awesome. Um, Again, you started it off really well. I was taking a ton of notes because I'm like, oh, that's good. And so I like that you started it off with, is there anything we need to talk about? You kind of,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of times we bring in something, and you allowed her to get that out of the way. And then again, with the opening, what would you like to discuss today? And what I really like about how, Karen went through her thing and you reflect back everything. Well, what I'm hearing is this. And maybe, you said what she said, and you're like, and maybe you need to come up with a direction. You could tell there's something heavy because she even said the word, there's a massive iceberg.
Mhm.
And that's something like maybe you could have dug in a little bit, like, what is this iceberg? Talk to me more about it because, not only is it an iceberg, it's a massive iceberg.
Yeah.
There's a few phrases that will come up that Karen said over and over. So,
Oh, great. What was that?
no, it's,
Just kidding.
you'll know. So then she kind of unpacked a little bit more, and again, you went back to it like, well, what I'm hearing you say this time is, this. And she was like, yes. And so that next question you said, what does this mean to you? And why is this, that little part, you were like, wait, why, what is this? So just maybe like, what does this mean to you? And just
Right.
lob that out there and let her,
Yeah.
you know, then Karen said, I don't feel, muting, but listening. Okay. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
She said, I don't feel like I'm supposed to take a big pause. And here's the first phrase that she said, and she said this a lot, that in between, what do I do?
Right.
And so she said in between probably 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
And she also at the very beginning kept talking about being pushed out and pushed out. And I love that you clarified, like, what do you mean by being pushed out?
Mhm.
She seemed to like, maybe there's something there where you could really talk about is, you keep saying pushed out, what's going on here? Because that was a comment made. Again, she goes back to between now and then. So it almost seems like she was struggling with the in-between feelings, and that's maybe an area where she could have impacted a little bit more.
Yeah.
You did reaffirm like her loyalty to her current organization, and so I think it was a little bit validating for her, that okay, there could be something that's happening down the road, but it's a good organization now. So I love the question that you asked her. She was talking about getting the master's degree, and you said, well, what can you do with your newfound learning? And then you said, well, do you want to brainstorm? And she was like, yeah, sure, that'd be great. And again, this isn't bad for Karen, but she unpacked a lot here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
that may have been a time to be like, whoa, okay, hold on. That was a lot that you gave me. So,
Mm.
let's maybe hit like, what are the 3 options you're weighing? Again, when I put down in between every time you said it. And again, I think you said in between again. And then maybe that's what I take steps towards. This was Karen saying that. And so I think the words that were sticking out to me with Karen was nothing seemed committal. You know, there was like a lot of the in between, and maybe I do this, maybe that, and so once she unpacked all of that, you had made the statement, like, it sounds like the third option. I would maybe have rephrased it to be like, hey, out of all those options you gave me, which one would be the one you would like to step forward on? And then at the very end, you just said, what's your plan of action moving forward? And I think that was great because then she, like, again, started processing what her next steps were. So that's what I have. Great, though.
I was
I'm
like,
clearly in between, okay?
well, and I can
Anybody missed
relate.
it.
I think we all can relate to each other. I'm sitting there going, yes, the in between.
Yes.
What the heck?
I know. I mean, there's something a little bit comforting that we're all kind of struggling with the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
Great work, Sarah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good job, Lisa. Thank you for coaching me.
Thank you very much.
All right, now I gotta think of, both of y'all, I could take both of your scenarios and apply it to mine.
Well, girl, run with it. That's great.
I know. I probably will then.
Well, that's great. Okay. So Lisa, you're observing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm coaching. And God bless Micah.
Oh boy.
I'm setting a timer.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna I'm gonna go bye-bye.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. Hi, Micah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks. Have you had a good day?
Yes. Freezing, but yes.
Yes, I agree.
It's a Monday.
I know. Well, before we dive into today's session, anything top of mind that we need to talk about first, or 911s as we call them?
No, I don't think there's 911s. The guy I'm dating, he lost his animal, or like his pet today, and so that was kind of a heavy start to the day and an emotional start to the day. So felt a little distracted. Yeah. But I think I'm ready.
Okay. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. That is a really sad loss.
It is.
We love our pets. I know.
There are babies. There are babies.
Well, what would you like to work on in today's session? What would you like to talk about?
Oh gosh. It's kind of a combination of a couple of things. So finishing up the master's program, and I had a conversation with my boss a year ago saying, jokingly at the time, I was like, you have 1 year, you have 1 year to figure out, because in my organization, you have to have a master's degree to be promoted to a vice president. Well, so recently about a week or two ago, I had a conversation with him and said, hey, I'm bringing this back up. I'm wrapping this program up. I'll have my master's degree. Where are we? And honestly, the response he gave me, it was a fine response, but the 3 reasons like that things couldn't happen now are all crap. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, they weren't real. And I know enough about the organization to know that the reasoning wasn't true. So I'm a little frustrated with that. And I'm concerned it's coming off as indifference, because now at this point, I just don't feel like I don't know if I want to be a part of that at a higher level. So I want, like, there's part of me that really wants it, but then there's another part of me that's like, who cares?
So, in our discussion today, then, are you looking to gain clarity on whether to continue in the pathway there or do something different, or have a conversation? What's your objective, or what would be a successful outcome from today's conversation?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, because I think that's what I've struggled with recently is, do I hold out hope there, or do I step out and start applying for another position. And so I think, you know, maybe kind of processing through that of what do I do? You know, how much longer do I hold out hope? Because even today, he's like, oh, you know, I'm interviewing this other person from another company and they're talking about merging the companies. And he's like, you know, I don't know what that means for HR. And, you know, more than likely it would mean, you know, a promotion or whatever. I just feel like it's empty words.
Mm,
And so, you know, I think maybe today, like maybe I just need to process through that and just be like, you know, everything I'm struggling with in my thoughts of, you know, do I hang on to hope, or, you know, what's the harm of starting to look for another job? And I think the fear is leaving the team. And I don't even know if that's a justifiable fear, because it's, you know, I'm cheering them on. I'm like, I want you on the team, you know, all that stuff. But if they had a better opportunity, you know, I'm talking this all out, is
mm,
I guess maybe what I'm trying to say is, does this position, does this job align with
mm.
what I want my future goals to be?
That's
That's
okay.
what I need.
Yeah, that's good clarity. Okay, so what does this, does this current job align with my future desires for my career? Is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
And what's meaningful about discerning that for you? Why is that important?
Well, because it's more than just the job. I mean, you know, honestly, I would love to move back to East Texas. And,
Mm,
you know, if this position panned out to VP, you know, I would feel committed here for at least a little bit of time. But, you know, oh, it's so complicated, because I
mm,
really struggle in the organization, because there's some things that I struggle with as far as the leadership, like the ethical leadership, and the integrity of the leadership. And so, you know, I guess it's really, is it aligning with my values? Is it aligning with, you know, my beliefs? And
mm,
will I be stuck there?
mm.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's so meaningful because it's tied to a lot of other desires of yours in terms of maybe
Yeah.
moving, what you want to do
Right.
in the future, but also what I heard you say was, I'm not sure that where I am aligns with me right now too. And I did hear you
Yeah.
say the word fear about looking, and I heard you say
Right.
also fear about leaving the team or just
Yes.
okay. So
Yes.
um how how sure are you on a scale of 1 to 10 that you
Mhm.
would want to stay as we start this conversation, that you would want to stay at the organization?
Oh, in my current role?
Well, I guess with future opportunity, yeah, because you obviously are staying. If it sounds like you're only staying if there
Yeah.
is more. So I think let's
Right. Right.
presume, yeah.
Okay. So with the future opportunity, if I knew it was guaranteed, um, how does it align with my goals? I would honestly probably say it's a 5.
Okay.
I mean, it's not strong. Meaning, like, I don't want to be here in West Texas forever.
Mm,
I came back here to be closer to family, and I think at this point my family would be like, okay, we'll all go to we'll all move, you know. Um, so it's a 5. And honestly, there's just times that I struggle with, you know, I feel burned out in the role itself, you know.
mm,
And is it because I've lost passion? Is it because I don't believe, you know, that any advancement will happen? I've been burned, you know, it's
mm,
like I've been so burned out and handedly like really overworked for the past
mm,
year. And so maybe that's, you know, that's all playing into this. But, you know, I think, you know, to go back to your question, I'm probably right around a 5
okay.
with it, how is it aligning with my, no, let me take that back. I would probably say, I'm going to give it a notch higher. I'll say a 6, just because if it is that like a VP role, I would want to commit to it for at least a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what number would you need to be at to know for sure that you wanted to stay and not pursue?
Honestly, probably an 8.
Okay. So from a 6 to
Yeah.
an 8.
Yeah.
And what do you think sits in between that? What do you think maybe needs to be addressed in order to accomplish the clarity of whether that's possible or not?
I think determining if I'm just, let me think about that for a minute. I need to determine if I'm distrusting of the organization because of the empty promises they've made, or if I'm just tired
Mm,
and burned out,
mhm,
and so that's probably where I'm really struggling is it distrust? And there's so much that comes with that because,
mm,
gosh, we don't have enough time to unpack everything, but everything that comes with that is we've opened a brand new hospital. We've hired a ton more people. Um, you know, we are financially, I'm not sure because of that hospital, the
mhm,
right decisions weren't made there. But then there's also within the next year or two, some of the people who've been in place that have been there way too long, maybe retiring and moving on. So then
mm,
it's like, oh my gosh, there's fresh new blood coming in. And, I know the next person who would be the CEO, and he's incredible and would
mm,
really be kind of a mover and a shaker. So there's that little bit of hope. But there's also that, distrusting of, will it really change?
mm,
On the other side of it, am I just burned out because
mhm,
I was on this huge project last year, and maybe that's probably more where I am is I was on a huge project last year. I was going to school, and it was just kind of like oh, thanks for doing that. There
mm,
really wasn't much of a reward for it. And so it just felt like, oh my gosh, you're so burned out
mm,
and not appreciate. I mean, it is appreciated. The work has been appreciated, but it's exhausting. And so I just
mm,
feel like maybe with everything, and maybe that's again, I'm just processing this is what is
mhm,
happening. Maybe that's what I need to do is give myself some grace to understand that with the downshifting of, okay, that big project last year had wrapped up. I'm in a place right now where, I have a great team under me, and I'm really trying to like empower them and just be like, you'll tell me what fights you need me to fight for you.
mm,
I'm going to let you run. Um, and so maybe I just need to be content in that role for a bit and have that grace to be like, it's okay, but still going back to it, does it really align with where I want to
mm,
be?
mm. Yeah, so I've heard you say, burnt out and definitely, and tired. And so, and I kind of heard you say in that if it's just that, maybe if I had more margin, like, and less pressure, maybe I wouldn't be,
Mhm.
so ready to leave. But then there's
Yeah.
this other side I heard you say of, I have some trust issues with the ethics and even some just
Yes.
believing leadership. And this other piece of, but everything could change. And like
Right.
there's all these dependencies. So one of the questions I just want to pose and ask is, what would it look like for you, or maybe which one of those feels like the biggest obstacles or hurdles towards an answer?
The distrust in leadership. Yeah. And I just think that's because, again, I know, being in my role, unfortunately, I know a lot that has happened. And I just don't have the confidence that it's going to change for me.
Hmm.
So,
And And so I know today's a really short session and we won't get to unpack any of those 3 areas fully, but as you think about that one area, is there any action steps that you can take to get clarity on that, whether that's something that will change or not?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, so at the organization, there's 2 COOs. I report to one of them, but the other COO is kind of like the heir apparent. You know, he's
Mm,
gonna
mhm.
take he'll be the next CEO. And I'm actually like, we have a great working relationship. And so I think I can have a conversation with him. You know, I've had conversations with him in the past to where I've said, you know, what is going on here?
Mm,
And so I think maybe that's what I would need to do is just have another conversation with him and find out like what's the timeline for
mm,
all this change, you know?
mhm,
Because if it's going to be 2 or 3 years down the road,
mhm.
then I should continue my exploration of other opportunities that
Well,
align with my long
and it
form.
sounds like that's somebody that you trust their
Yeah,
opinion of. So that's
absolutely.
okay, good. Well,
Yeah.
what what do you need from me or anybody else in your life as you make that step to have that conversation?
Um, Probably just accountability to have that conversation. You know, it's a little bit of a bold conversation to go to the COO and be like, "Hey, when's your boss retiring?"
Mm,
But, you know, just being able to kind of like talk it through here and then follow up of, okay, how did that go when you had that
mm,
conversation? That's probably what I need. So,
okay. Well,
oh,
happy to serve as a practice, if you want to do that next session, or you can have it and we can follow up, you can let me know. So thank you,
yes.
Micah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, timekeeper.
Ah,
Yay, great job, guys.
yes. That could have been like a 2-hour session.
It's so interesting to hear about, like you said, all of our different but similar
Oh,
places. Yeah.
yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you feel about that, Micah?
Loved it. You know, it's just, I think I said this in our conversation when we broke out into our little breakout groups in class. I think coaching it can be different for everyone. And for
Mm,
me, it was one of those things where I thought, you know, I do just need to process this through.
mm,
Because I think in probably all of our positions at work, we can't really do that processing with people because we
mm,
have to be kind of guarded. And I think that's just what I needed is like, what is like, what's my holdup and what's my issue? And just being able to kind of like lay it all out there. And then to determine, you know, I think Karen, you asked some really great questions. Then to determine, you know, is it the distrust or is it the, you know, the
mm,
burnout? You know, that to me was kind of eye-opening.
mm.
So it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you feel about that, Karen?
Um, I don't know. No, I think I told you guys coming out of my practicum, I just felt really kind of rocked and unsettled in coaching. I will say that felt much more back to who I am. And one of the major differences, to be honest, is that in the practicum, I felt really like I needed to take notes and so I could refer back to them. And like, I just didn't do any of that. Like I just was present with Micah. And I feel like, and I also feel like because I've spent time looking at the competencies, because they are good. They are like, that's what
Yeah.
peer coaching looks like. And I've wrote down, like, I've just wrote down questions, like I said, that I could ask and just kind of felt back in my flow more. I think that was helpful and just really trying to pay attention to things that I have a tendency to do, which is pronounce judgments of like, oh, that's so good. Or, to be encouraging, but not do that. And then, and tell, I don't, I don't want to tell, I want to ask questions. So
Yes.
I felt better about it this time than I have in my practicum. I don't know if I did it or if that was just I'm just believing lies or what, but it felt more natural to me again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're so smooth, like you're just so smooth. Yeah, did you just come in there with just the right question? I was like, yeah, you're smooth. It's good.
You're smooth. I don't feel smooth on the inside. I feel very bumpy.
Oh, no, you were sitting there just waiting. It was nice. But yeah, I liked your 911 at the beginning, and then you had empathy for her situation.
Mm.
Yeah. And you validated, for her the feeling of, that our pets are our people.
I
We like
know.
people. And
Oh.
then so I liked how you phrase, like what would success look like, at the end. I think that's a really good way to phrase that. And you were very affirming throughout the whole thing. And then, yeah, trying to asking her, what was meaningful.
Mm.
That's always really great. And I think that does help them clarify, like, oh, I don't know, what is meaningful,
Mm.
um, and you got clarity on the agreement, really well. And then let's see, asking how would that align, you know,
Mm.
she's like, I don't know, so you made her have
Yeah.
an aha. And then the number value,
Mm.
That's
um,
good.
I was like, I went back and forth about that because I'm
Mm.
like, is that getting her out of her, like then she's
Mhm.
like in her thinking brain then?
Mhm.
It,
Fair.
I'm like, is that what happened? Because there was a lot of emotion
Mhm.
for that. Is it and I kind of wanted to dig into the emotion more,
Mhm.
and but then it helped her find clarity too though. So I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
know, so
Yeah.
I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So and then I think it did help her try to determine which way, like a direction, find direction. Um, but I did see her get caught up in the shoulds,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then so I'm like, okay, how can we get her out of that?
Mm. Yeah, really good. Yeah.
But really great reflective listening was impeccable. And you did go back to the trust,
Mm.
you did go back to the values. And I was like so happy about that. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, do we,
Mhm.
and so you went back there. And so I think that helped her get that clarity that she needed. And then helping her delineate which obstacle I think was really awesome too.
Mm.
Yeah. And then just finding clarity. And then, yeah, the question at the end, how can I support you? With spot on, spot
Mhm.
on. I think it was a really good 15-minute session. I mean, even just saying, hey, with our, if this is a short session, it just
Mm.
helps, to frame that thinking, right?
Mhm.
No matter how much time we have with them, right?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, we are coming to a close here, so yeah, what's my bottom line?
Right.
I think it helps that. And then
That
how can
was,
I
I'm so glad you said the thing about specifically about the thinking, because that is one of those things that um you know, I want to get better at. I want to get better at kind of evoking emotion. There was one point when Micah looked like um emotional,
yeah.
or like, I don't know what the word would be. And had she not kept talking about whatever it was at the time, I was very interested to kind of ask her about it, because like there was a sadness to where she was like, why can't it just be that she's going to get this next job and trust the leadership, and that, whatever. It just felt like that. And so, yeah, I want to be able to do that better. So I really appreciate that. That's helpful. Think
Yeah.
about, how do I keep them in their heart, right? Not their head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. No, it was really, really good.
There was.
It's
There
so
was that
fun.
emotional there. I'm glad you didn't
Yeah.
go there because I would have been like, "Woo!"
Well, I wanted to. It's funny, it is funny because as naturally curious people, I think we all are, right?
Yeah.
Like, I also was like, oh my God, you're dating a guy. I want to know about this. Because when I met you, you weren't dating a guy. And I want to hear. And I was like so curious about all of
Right?
it.
I know.
And I was like, ah, yeah, you just get curious about, and that's why I ask questions about the narrative, and I'm like, it's not relative, keep on focus. Anyway.
But I love
Oh, okay. Well, this was so helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for your kind and constructive feedback.
Ah.
it. Yeah. Quick, do you want to stop recording and then I have a
Oh, yeah,
quick
sure.
question?